This webinar is one of a suite of supports provided by the Office to applicants preparing a proposal for the January deadline. The handbook is available on our website under the Resources, Events and Training section, as is this webinar and the other 3 parts. I perform on-site clinics with coordinators submitting applications on demand. And finally and importantly, I will carry out a limited number of proposal reviews per HEI. These will be sent to me via the Central Research Officer, and we'll do this from mid-November until December 20th this year. Additional resources which applications are highly recommended to consult are shown on this webpage. The updated MSCA work programme for 2018 to 2020, published in July 2019, can be accessed at this link, as well as FAQs on the EC portal and those found on the Net4Mobility Plus blog. Finally, statistics, success stories and videos can be accessed on the Net4Mobility Plus website. So the objective of innovative training networks is, in terms of policy, to train a new generation of creative, entrepreneurial and innovative young researchers. This is a research and training programme for early stage researchers with less than 4 years research experience after undergrad. There is a very strong focus here on intersectoral and international cooperation. As shown in this slide, MSCA involves 2 sectors. The academic sector comprises higher education institutions, public research organisations, and private non-profit research organisations. The non-academic sector comprises industry, MNCs and SMEs, CSOs, NGOs, government and public sector, regulatory bodies, national archives, charities, etc. Participation by both sectors is necessary for success. Intersectoral mobility is carried out in the following ways. Firstly, by secondments for structured and hands-on training, whereby the ESRs spend time in another organisation during the fellowship as part of their research project for a maximum of 30% of the total project period. If a beneficiary or primary supervisor is in the academic sector, the ESR can be seconded to the non-academic sector and vice versa. Intersectoral mobility can also be carried out by performing short visits over the period of days, which involve trips outside the main supervisor's organisation for the purpose of data collection, shadowing, workshops in the other sector, etc. Additionally, and as is the case for ITNs, there will be another supervisor to complement the main supervisor's expertise, and this supervisor will be located in the other sector. A typical ITN then comprises a consortium of organisations from different countries and sectors. Together they propose a high-quality, top-class joint research training programme. They recruit researchers across the consortium. Each researcher works on an individual research project. ESRs must adhere to the MSCA mobility rule and not have lived in the country of their host organisation for more than 12 months in the 3 years prior to recruitment. A typical ITN always involves advanced research skills and transferable skills training. This can be done in different ways, including local training and network-wide training. Networking and networking events constitute an important part of ITN, as well as secondments for each researcher to the other sector, as just described in the previous slide. Consortia involve 2 types of participants. Firstly, beneficiaries who sign the grant agreement, who obtain funds from the EC, and who recruit and train researchers. The coordinator constitutes a beneficiary, of course, as well. Secondly, partner organisations host short secondments and/or contribute to training activities. There are 3 ITN modes: EIDs, EJDs and ETNs, all 3 of which have a maximum duration of 48 months. The minimum composition of a consortium for EIDs is composed of 2 beneficiaries from 2 member state or associated countries from both the academic and the non-academic sector. That for EJD are 3 academic beneficiaries at a minimum from 3 member states or associated countries, and likewise
The minimum consortium composition for an ETN is 3 beneficiaries from 3 member states or associated countries. As many partner organisations as is necessary to offer a high and top class training research project are allowed. ESRs are typically funded for 36 months, maximum of 36, and the minimum composition for a 2-member EID is 5 ESRs, whereas they often go up to 15 ESRs being recruited. For EIDs, it is important to note that the ESRs must spend at least 50% of their time in the non-academic sector. For EJDs, they must be awarded a joint or double PhD, and though it is not a formal requirement, a PhD conferral is also typical for ETNs. With respect to the budget this year, 35 million has been attributed to EIDs and EJDs, whilst a budget of 400 million euros has been attributed to ETNs.
With respect to the consortium composition, institutions from member states and associated countries can participate as beneficiaries or as partner organisations. It is possible to have more than one beneficiary from the same country, but no more than 40% of the total budget can go to any one country, except in the case of a 2-beneficiary EID, where 50% of course would be allocated to each. It is possible to include non-European third countries as beneficiaries or partners, but high-income countries such as the US, Australia and Japan are advised to apply as partner organisations. This slide shows the composition of an ETN entitled CHESS, which is coordinated by University College Dublin. This ETN was awarded 3.95 million euros from the European Commission and is comprised of 8 beneficiaries and 10 partner organisations. You can see the academic organisations which will be recruiting and conferring PhDs on the ESRs shown here in blue. The non-academic institutions involved are shown in orange. In this slide, we see the composition of a European industrial doctorate called Metaphor, which was allocated 820,000 euros. Here we can see there are 2 beneficiaries, Queen's University Belfast and Irish Laboratory Diagnostic Services Limited. In this instance, no partner organisations were involved, because presumably in the application it was clear that none were necessary. It is possible, however, for European industrial doctorates to have more than 2 beneficiaries. For example, in the case of 3, a third country would also need to be involved. In this slide, we see a larger EID composed of beneficiaries in the academic and the non-academic sector called Context, which was attributed a budget of 3.95 million euros. This EID is composed of 8 beneficiaries and no partner organisations. Again, the academic institutions are depicted in blue and the non-academic institutions shown in orange. Finally, here you can see the composition of a consortium involved in an EJD, European and Joint Doctorate, called Rep Biotech, which was awarded 3.8 million euros from the EC. This involved 5 academic beneficiaries and 9 partner organisations. Here we see the funding model for the different MSCA in the current work programme until the end of Horizon 2020. Here we can see the living allowance, mobility allowance and family allowance for ITN. All researchers under an ITN must be employed, and the figures are inclusive of employers' pay costs as per national law. A country coefficient applies to the living allowance, and further information regarding the budget and its calculation can be found in the guide for applicants. In writing a successful ITN application, it is vital to remember that this is a research training programme. Neither aspect can be neglected. The proposal template constitutes Part B1 and B2. Part B1 should not exceed 30 pages and is divided into the excellence, impact and implementation sections, to which are awarded a weighting of 50, 30 and 20% respectively. A number of ITN quality components have been identified by this office over the years based on ESR analysis and feedback. The consortium and programme must be outstanding, and this is done by developing a comprehensive programme vision, providing an integrated research and training strategy that is also coherent and feasible, by developing a realistic management, financial and institutional strategy, and finally, by recruiting excellent students and delivering value to them. I will now detail these quality components individually. Firstly, programme vision. The unique selling proposition of the programme should be identified. Why should this project be funded by the European Commission? What societal issue and important area is it addressing, etc. Secondly, the overall research goal and key research objectives and how the consortium will deliver them should be made clear, including through secondments that are designed to maximise research excellence and intersectoral exposure. It should be made very clear to the evaluator why this consortium should deliver the programme and why now. What is the European added value and how will it be joined up? For example, why should this consortium-based grant be funded versus individually led research projects? It is also vital to consider how the consortium and how the programme can be sustainable after this ITN. By continuing such collaboration in Europe, but also and very importantly, with regards to the sustainability of such doctoral training in Europe. It is also very important to understand how the graduating ESRs will be employable, by whom or where, and why. For EJDs, the doctoral examination processes in place across the consortium should be researched, and those that will be used for each ESR should be clearly identified. Also for EJD, it is important to show how the graduating ESRs are provided with recognisable degrees and how these are joined up across the consortium. Now for the integrated strategy as it applies to research, training, assessment and supervision. A cohesive, timely, credible, excellent research programme with balanced supervision processes and workloads across the consortium should be presented. The ESRs should be provided with access to the best training, research tools and scientific facilities. Excellent training will have a strong hands-on research component and involve network-wide taught research and transferable skills. The assessment mechanism for the ESRs must be coherent and balanced across the consortium. A formal continuous progress monitoring system should be implemented, and a collaborative research and communication platform for all those involved in the consortium, ESRs and staff, should be detailed in the proposal. It is also important that effective intercultural awareness across the consortium is ensured, and this is linked also with effective communication and face-to-face meetings. In order to have an integrated management, financial and institutional strategy, the following elements should be included in the proposal. The administrative units responsible for the ESRs should be identified. The finances should be planned with appropriate support from institutional offices and risks and contingencies allowed for. A consortium agreement should be planned for, including IPR and research integrity issues. ESRs must have employment contracts under an ITN, and a programme-wide quality assurance process should be implemented, involving internal feedback and quality review, as well as external quality assurance. Finally, a dynamic marketing and communication strategy should be implemented, including attracting international ESRs. Finally, excellent ESRs should be recruited for this programme. It is important to recruit and select the best equipped ESRs. And once started the project, it is important that these individuals are well supported logistically with respect to any institutional support, visas, accommodation, induction, etc. The ESRs should be supported academically and culturally to integrate into their new environment, including into local doctoral schools. Resource availability across the consortium should be joined up and coherent at the infrastructural, equipment, IT capabilities and other levels. This is important in order to prepare the ESRs to maximise their career potential and become highly employable scientists, both in the academic and the non-academic sector. I will now describe the ITN evaluation process. In submitting an ITN proposal, one of 8 panels must be chosen, ranging from chemistry to engineering, social sciences and humanities, to the environment and geosciences. Descriptors or keywords should be chosen, a minimum of 3 and a maximum of 5 in order of importance. Provide these from the list of descriptors which can be found at the back of the guide for applicants. It is important to choose these descriptors carefully, as they will determine which evaluators will be allocated to your proposal. Now for the evaluation process itself. Each proposal is scored remotely by 3 different remote evaluators. Their review form has the same headings as the proposal template. As each evaluator gets approximately 8 proposals to assess in a short time frame, clarity and readability and spark in the proposal, both from a content and formatting point of view, is vital. Each remote evaluator scores the excellence, impact and implementation criteria out of 5. A vice chair acts as rapporteur and puts together the comments of the remote evaluations in order to deliver the draft consensus evaluation summary report back to the remote evaluators for discussion. This is done online through a chat system called SEP. The vice chair ensures that the comments match the score and that the process is followed. Proposals scoring above 70% are discussed and ranked by a panel of vice chairs in Brussels. For ETNs, proposals are ranked by a disciplinary panel, as shown in the previous slide, and the distribution of awards across panels is proportional to the numbers of proposals received into the budget. For EID and EJD, the final ranking is done in separate EID and EJD panels.
This brings to an end part 1 of the 2019 ITN webinar. Thank you for your attention and I hope this has been useful to you. Irish applicants can address any queries to the mariecurie@iua.ie email address and we will endeavour to reply as soon as possible. Good luck.